Hey, my name is Dalton. I'm an in-house photographer and videographer for MSI USA. And in this video, I wanted to check out just how much faster is Cuda accelerated video exporting. I'm going to be using Adobe Media Encoder for this test on our new Creator Z17. I just got back from PAX East 2022 where I made a recap video for the company, and the way that I shoot and film requires me to transcode the footage first before I could do any editing inside Premiere Pro. So the main camera that I've been shooting on is this Sony FX3. There's the option to shoot 4K 10-bit 422 footage, and with those video files straight out of the camera, it actually doesn't play that well nicely inside Premiere Pro. No matter what resolution I set the program or source monitors at, whether it be full, half, quarter, etc., the footage doesn't play back nicely. There's stutter, there's lag, and my assumption is that the way that the camera records or the codec that it uses, it just doesn't play well with Premiere Pro. To resolve this issue, I first dump all of the footage that I record into Adobe Media Encoder and then transcode it into a ProRes 422 LT codec. In my experience, just with this codec inside Premiere Pro, there's no issues with playback, there's no stuttering, there's no lag, and it just works flawlessly. Now, most videos record at 8-bit 420. And how I've come to understand the difference between 8-bit and 10-bit and 420 and 422 is, and I know this is a huge oversimplification, but in 10-bit 422, the camera is recording a lot more color data, a lot more shades of color, and when you're shooting in a logarithmic or a log color profile, this makes it a lot more flexible for you to color grade with. I won't go into too much detail about bit depth and chroma subsampling, but if you'd like to learn more, I'll leave some links to some articles over at B&H, and they'll do a much better job at explaining these topics. This specific Creator Z17 that I'm using for this test is equipped with a 12th Gen Core i9-12900H, an RTX 3080 Ti, and 64 GB of DDR5 memory. At PAX East, I recorded about 70 GB of footage total, and so what I did was I took all this footage, dumped it onto the Z17, and then ran the transcoding twice, once with Cuda acceleration on and once with it off. With Cuda enabled, the export took about 25 minutes, and with it disabled, it took about 27 minutes. When I first thought of this idea, I thought the gap was going to be a lot bigger, so you know what, I thought, maybe 70 GB isn't enough. You know, I'm primarily a solo shooter. What if there needs to be more footage or more data for Cuda acceleration to really shine? So to try and simulate this, I duplicated the footage a couple of times inside Media Encoder. So I increased it from 70 gigs to 210 gigs and ran the transcodes again. With this new test, it was about 12 minutes faster. It took 98 minutes when Cuda acceleration was enabled and 110 minutes when it was disabled. So to summarize the results from these two tests, Cuda accelerated video transcoding in Adobe Media Encoder on the Z17 was about 6.7 and 11% faster, respectively. However, something was really bothering me about just how fast the Z17 was able to complete transcoding 70 GB of data. It was under half an hour for both tests. Now, for your reference, I'm not using the Creator Z17 every day as my primary work laptop. I'm using a 10th Gen WS66 workstation laptop. So it's a few years old at this point, and while I was in Boston, I don't remember these transcode times being that quick. So just for good measure, I decided to transcode all 70 GB on my WS66 with Cuda acceleration on. My jaw literally dropped when I found out that it took 67 minutes to complete on the WS66. That's about 41 minutes slower. I really couldn't believe the performance differences, and I thought, you know what, maybe it wasn't fair to compare a Quadro laptop GPU versus a non-Quadro or non-workstation laptop GPU. So what I did now was I pulled out a few previous generation laptops from the past few years and ran the same 70 GB Cuda accelerated export test. Here are the three additional laptops that I pulled out. A Stealth GS66 with a 10th Gen Intel CPU and a 2080 Super Max Q, a Creator 15 also with a 10th Gen Intel CPU and a 3070, and the last generation Creator Z16 with an 11th Gen CPU and a 3060. The Stealth GS66 took 66 minutes, the Creator 15 took 76 minutes, and the Creator Z16 took 38 minutes. So my WS66 was performing about on par with the other 10th Gen laptops that were released around the same time. Now, what started off as wanting to show just how fast Cuda acceleration is, I think it's a lot more interesting and a lot more important to show just how much the performance has improved over the past few generations of our laptops. Now, to be clear, my WS66 is functioning just fine. It feels plenty fast while I'm photo or video editing, and I didn't really think there'd be a compelling enough reason for me to want to upgrade. You know, it's only a couple of years old, it's a couple generations behind, but seeing this performance difference, seeing the amount of time I could potentially save, I want to upgrade. It leaves me speechless. Like, I'm still stunned about just how fast the Z17 was able to complete everything. The key takeaways I would say is, yes, CUDA acceleration is still faster and it'll help save you time, especially if you add it up over the long run. But I think the more important takeaway is, hey, if you're running a system that's 10th gen or older, and you spend a lot of time waiting for progress bars to complete, a lot of video exporting, things like that, it might be worth considering upgrading to 12th gen. Heck, even 11th gen. Comparing the results from my WS66 to the Creator Z16 with the 11th gen CPU and a 3060, that was about a 20-minute difference. As the name implies, the Creator Z series laptops from MSI were designed with creators in mind. It features a CNC unibody aluminum chassis, which makes it extremely sturdy and durable, and it's got a 16:10 aspect ratio QHD plus display with a 165Hz refresh rate. If you'd like to learn more about the Creator Z series laptops, check out the links in the description. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go request a new work laptop.